10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 38. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. My name is Nick Manella, and I will be your host. And every week on this show, we try to give you a short and concise jazz lesson on an important topic that can be of use to you. So I have to apologize first for the lack of episodes for the past 2 weeks. I've been so busy that it's just been impossible to find the time to sit down and record a podcast. Which also brings me to my next point. Unfortunately, this is going to be the second to last episode in the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. And the reasoning behind that is simply that we need support, and right now we are not getting it. So in order for me to justify this many hours out of my week, which not only includes recording this podcast, but also editing it and making sure it gets up on the website, writing all the notes, preparing the PDF for you, everything like that, there's just not enough time in the day to do all this without some kind of monetary reward. Unfortunately, that's just the way that life works. So unless we start seeing some monthly donations, unfortunately, this podcast is going to go away. If you want to prevent that from happening, please go onto our website and find the PayPal donate button and donate $5 a month to the show. And that's really the way that we're going to stay in business. $5 a month, not too much. You know, that's only $1.25 an episode. And for most of us, that's less than the price of a fancy coffee drink at Starbucks. So if you want to see the podcast stay around, please consider going on and donating $5. And, if we don't see the support, it's just a reality that the show is going to go away. And I know that really stinks, and I'm sad about it too, but that's just kind of the way it works. So enough of all that. Let's get on to today's lesson. So today we're going to talk about, what I think is one of the most important concepts that has to do with jazz in general, and that is the concept of having really good time. And what I'm talking about is being able to play with a metronome, and then when you're not playing with a metronome, being able to keep really, really solid time and having a great time feel. A lot of us out there that aren't drummers or bass players or rhythm section members think that that's the job of the rhythm section, but I'm actually here today to tell you that everybody who wants to play jazz needs to have great time. It's a requirement. You have to be able to keep tempo. You have to be able to swing. Now, we all say that when we hear somebody that's really, really good, we say, man, that guy or gal is swinging. That means that they have really, really great time, and they've probably spent hours upon hours upon hours of their lives with a metronome in front of them, clicking away, just like I have. You got to have that economy pack of extra batteries to make sure that you never run out and that you can always have that metronome there by your side in order to improve your time on a regular basis. So how do we do this? What are some different strategies that we can use to develop really, really good time? Well, the first and most obvious is you need to turn that metronome on. It doesn't work as a decoration in your practice room. It needs to be on and giving you feedback in order for your time to get better. Now, that's just a fact of life. If you hate the metronome, then you better get used to it, or you better learn to love it, because there's just no way to get better without it. A lot of people have perfect pitch or relative pitch or have a natural ear, but there really aren't any of us that have the natural ability to keep perfect time unless we've spent hours and days, months and years with the metronome. So that's the first thing. You really just need to turn it on. And the most simple way to do this when you're first starting is to put it on at a slow tempo and put it on as quarter notes. This is the simplest, easiest way, and as you'll see later in the episode, there's many other ways to get better at playing with the metronome. But the first way is to just put it on, clicking away on quarter notes, and try to play something. So I'm going to pick a melody that I really like. I'm going to pick the melody Sandu. And I'm going to turn on the metronome on all four quarter notes and play it for you to kind of demonstrate where I'm at with my time. So you can hear that that's pretty basic. I think everybody out there should be able to do that without much trouble at all. Pick a tune that you know really well. Don't try to do something that you're not sure of yourself on, because the combination of the metronome and the fact that you're not sure about it will kind of play tricks on you. So make sure you pick a tune that you are very, very familiar with if you've never done this before. Okay, so the second way that we would like to get the metronome going is a pretty classic jazz practice tool where we have the metronome click on 2 and 4 to mimic the hi-hat of the drummer. If you've ever paid attention to a drummer while they're playing, they're closing the hi-hat on 2 and 4 most of the time when you're in the time signature of 4/4. This gets harder. So what I suggest is that you do this at a really, really slow tempo when you first start out, because if you use a metronome in classical music, or if you've used one in the past and never done this before, you're going to be so used to hearing it on every beat that it might play tricks with your mind when you start to hear it just on 2 and 4. But let me demonstrate what that sounds like. So you can hear that sounds much different, and it actually is a much different feeling playing with it on 2 and 4 than it is playing with it on every beat. That took me a little while to get used to. I had a teacher in high school that would force me to do that every week, and at first I hated it, and now it's like the best thing ever. So take your time if you're getting ready to do that. Now, the reason that it's harder is not just because it's beating on 2 and 4, it's because the metronome is actually giving you less feedback. When you had it on every beat, you were getting feedback from the metronome every quarter note to make sure that you were with it. Now you're getting half as much feedback from the metronome, so therefore there's more room for error. So if you can't do that yet, don't worry. Keep practicing it with it on all 4 beats, and then eventually work your way into that. So another way to do it with half the feedback is to actually put the metronome on 1 and 3, and it will swing less, but this is also a great thing to do. There might be a little bit of disagreement on this fact, but I subscribe to a lot of Hal Galper's beliefs, and one of his beliefs is that, having something on 1 and 3 actually makes you swing harder. So don't discount that as an option just because we think about swinging as the beat being on 2 and 4. So let's get into one of the harder ones here. This would be putting the metronome once a measure. So it's only happening on beat 1 in every measure, and this is extremely advanced. So if you can't do this, don't worry about it. This is a really, really advanced way to work with the metronome, and one of the hardest ways to work with the metronome out there. Let's see if I can even do it. All right, well, I guess I could do it. I was getting nervous that I'd screw up on you guys and not even be able to complete my own lesson. But that's a tough one, and like I said, don't worry about that if you can't do that. That's just some advanced stuff that I wanted to show you. So ways that you can take that further, instead of having the one beat of the measure on 1, you could make the metronome beat 2, and it would only click on beat 2 once in the entire measure. That's going to make what I just did about 10 times harder. Then you could even shift it around to beat 3 or beat 4. And then if you want about the hardest thing that I've ever tried to do, try putting that one metronome click per measure on the and of 4. Man, that is a tough one. And I haven't met many people who could do that one really, really well. So basically the point of this episode is to show you a few of the techniques that I use, but really the heart of this episode is to turn on the metronome. If you have a metronome and you're not using it, you're doing yourself a great disservice by not turning that metronome on. It will improve your time, I promise. All right, everybody, so we'll see you next week for what I hope is not the last episode of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. So please show your support in the form of monthly donation, $5 a month. I don't think that's asking all that much from you guys, and hopefully you're gaining something from this. All right, everybody, go check out the website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great one.